Greetings and salutations once again, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri. I'm actually recording this at the same time as the last episode because I can't sleep. So, yay, extra time. As we resume, it's the year 2150. Actually, let's take a look for a moment. If we just deselect any units. That's not useful. Right. Okay, so we have we only have one second tier technology, but you know we're doing fairly well. We've got a clear business build going. We're currently working on something in the discovery sphere. You can tell broadly what your next technology will be, even if you can't tell exactly what it will be. Budget is good. We are spending nothing on maintenance. We simply don't have any facilities that require maintenance, and we're making 18 credits a year. Most of that is in Morgan Industries, but collections and fishery are doing quite well as well. This is simply because they have larger populations. Oh, excuse me, tight wrist. We've got a simple summary of our bases. We have 6 bases. Mostly, we're still on essentially on an expansion footing. At the moment, no drone problems, although those will happen soon enough, and we are maintaining no garrison because I'm not going to lie, we're playing a risky strategy by not putting much in the way of military investment. That is something I'm going to have to change. I'm going to be pulling back my scout troops in the near future, and we're going to start actually defending our bases again, because I've chanced it for 50 years now, and it's only so long until we start getting more aggressive attacks by native life. We have no secret projects underway. Satellites are a long way off. Our most productive unit is our formers, as it should be, followed closely by scout patrols. We have 17 score. And I think that's everything. Okay, and we're all clustered into this quite small area, but with plenty enough room to expand. So, as I say, we have to start pulling back soon, but we can do a little bit more exploration first. Okay, built that. That's nice and productive. What are we doing over here? Okay, so. Right, let's focus all our efforts on getting this particular fungal column down. For as long as it's around, it's going to keep producing more and more fungus, and it's just going to give rise to more and more problems for us. So, okay, that's Morgan Industries.
Indigenous life form.
Oh, we didn't make it.
It is every citizen's final duty to go into the tanks and to become one with all the people. Chairman Shen Jiyang. Ethics for tomorrow.
Creepy. But the recycling tanks are very useful, and it is a pioneer environment. We need every resource we can get, even the wet ones. Lal beat us to base facilities by 27 years. So, yeah, we're a little bit behind the times on that front. But then they start with rep commons, and we haven't really made a focus on them of late. So at the moment we're not producing anything. Well, we certainly can afford to produce a scout patrol. We could probably afford to produce an energy bank, actually. Yes, that would give us That would give us a little bit of extra economy. scout first. We need a defenses, and then actually maybe worth looking into the weather paradigm. I don't know. I would have to. One must think about these things. But let's get the scout patrol out of the way first, and then energy bank is a good follow-up. We can work on
production complete.
Lovely. Okay, so these fellows. Fungus. That guy can stay put. Not ideal locations there, but okay, we'll do what we can. Can you afford another colony pod? No, you can't. Stop making colony pods, you daft sod. So there we go, sensible options. Now what we certainly can do is move over this way. Yes, we will. And for that matter, sort that fellow out. Fungus clearing, That's 2 years. Okay. Oh, that's an ideal position down there, actually.
Production complete.
I think I might get an uphill penalty for this. No. No. Excellent. Ah, and disciplined for dealing with that. What joy. Right, so this fellow can go right there. Right there is probably best, actually. No, we'll push it slightly further, and we'll head to there. Okay, so for now, hold position. Excellent.
Terraform complete.
Those. You can see how now that we've reduced some of the surrounding fungus, this stalk has gone down significantly. That's because it draws some of its physical bulk from the surrounding fungal stalk. So the less of those hassling around, the easier it will be to destroy it later. Again, that's our veteran independent. Oh, and we really must get something more mobile out there. Searching at some point. Not worth doing more of that. Okay, yep, just go assist. That's fine. Fungus.
Terraform complete.
Okay. One transport. Yeah, why not? Transport's fine. The usual.
Request confirmation.
After all, you just sort of fall into a simple sort of rhythm of these. Scout patrol first, because we are appropriately concerned about security this far out on the border. Yeah, alright, pop that fellow there. Morgan collections could probably do with returning to
Enemy
Morgan collections.
project initiated.
Ah! Miriam, you cur! Oh,
Drone riots.
Morgan collections, is there? Right, and this is what happens when we have more drones than talents. So one way we can get rid of that is to produce a doctor, which produces an extra talent to counteract the drone. And it's one of the best short-term options, unfortunately. Another thing we can do is, well, we can buy these recycling tanks, get those out of the way. And we can start working on some colony pods. That should take care of our problem in the short term.
The righteous need not cower before the drumbeat of human progress. Though the song of yesterday fades into the challenge of tomorrow, God still watches and judges us. Evil lurks in the data links, as it lurked in the streets of yesteryear. But it was never the streets that were evil. Sister Miriam Godwinson, The Blessed Struggle.
Survival equipment from the Unity contained a variety of computers purpose-built for the needs of a frontier society. However, they must be first connected into information networks before scientists can utilize their power. The network node, appropriately enough, as I said before, functions as a sort of library, and it allows us to plug in alien artifacts, which will give us some free technology, which we could definitely use, to be honest. So yes, we can work on that. That's definitely, I think, priority on building those actually. Also, yeah, Miriam crazy, but starts making more sense as things go along.
Production complete.
Okay, forced recycling tanks. Let's work maybe not that network node. We will need one though at some point. Well, for now, yeah. The first line of resources hasn't been completed, so we can still swap out projects without penalty. Past that, we start having a resource invested penalty, because you can't, you know, whilst there's some materials you can swap interchangeably, some parts are specifically made with certain projects in mind, so it's frankly just not feasible. Okay. Play this game. See, turn things around. Get this fellow here. Fungus. Defungus.
Terraform complete.
You can cheat through the zone of control rules by having someone already in place. There's tricks we can pull with. Oh, nice. Monolith. There's tricks we can pull with. What's the term I'm looking for here? Very simple, obvious word. Probe teams. That's actually not that simple or obvious. It will make sense in the fullness of time. Yeah, so this guy can head back to Morgan Collections. I really wish he could do some police duty, but it's more important to me to have stupid amounts of income and quick research than that guy be able to use for police. So, build Morgan Mines. That's not really a mine at all, that sort of area. Let's say Morgan Coast. Nice sort of sunny area, beach, tourism, the works. All the usual stuff you'd enjoy in that sort of area. Yes, why not? And as usual,
Request confirmation.
speed that up.
Turn
You see,
complete.
now that we are now that we're making 22 a turn, it's almost, we can almost produce those without penalty. Network node, not finished, not in position yet, not in position yet, not in position yet. That's all bought. Not ready. Do I want to save time there? Can I save time
Request
there?
confirmation.
Oh, it's not really worth saving time there. I'd rather spend the extra turn. The thing with turn advantage sometimes is that you do need to sort of make a calculation over what's worth what. And that guy I think we want to bring back towards the... Okay, so it's been 5 years, we're making fair progress, got a couple of extra things signed up. Every now and again, every 5 or 10 turns it is actually worth stopping, taking stock briefly of how you're doing, because it gives you a sense of perspective. It's really useful when you're playing this game, I find.
Production complete.
Like most of my techniques, this advice is from Velocirix's lovely guide, which I have even today barely understand properly. Okay. Fungus. Fungus. That guy can hold. Are you doing anything else? No, you're not. Oh, I should make one of these then, really, shouldn't you? Oh, what are you doing? So, can we save? Right, well, yeah, abandon that, swap that in for one of these, and we'll have this fellow go up here, be the garrison for Morgan Coast. Excellent. Okay.
Terraform complete. Production complete. Indigenous life form.
And here's the first set of mindworms. Mindworms are horrifying little creatures. They have the ability to psychically paralyze animal life, including humans, and then calmly crawl up, burrow through your eye sockets or your nostrils or any sort of soft tissue and lay their wriggling, devouring larvae in your brain. These guys kill you slowly and painfully, and all you can do is watch. With stern discipline, you can overcome the psychic terror and actually manage to destroy them. And it's very easy to destroy them. Flame guns work very well. But the hard part is overcoming your fear. And that's why psychic combat doesn't work off ordinary weapons. And which is why this green guy is probably not ideal for the job, but okay. The good news is, land-based psychic combat, you do get an advantage. Land-based psychic combat,
Request
one
confirmation.
gets a bonus 2 for being on the offence. So that's something at least. Okay, now for this hard part. Not sure how I'm going to get around this one.
Terraform complete.
I think we've got ourselves in the shivved ourselves a bit there, haven't we? Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. I actually can't think of a decent way out of this. I think at this point maybe it will be best if we were to just try and take it with the veterans from there. Yeah, I think we've given this enough time. Okay, Morgan Fishery, well done. Roads, please.
Production complete.
And if you don't mind, I'll take that. And we also get a nice little bonus for destroying them as well, which is, well, welcome. Welcome. That's the word. Yes, welcome. Oh, and whilst we're here, let's build a sensor beacon so we can see into some of this fungal nonsense. Sensor beacons are cool. They do give a bonus to defense if you're on them. So ideally, I should be placing sensor beacons on each city site. I'm not. That's just me being lazy, and I'm sure I'll pay for it in due time. But one thing they do is allow you to see into these fungal beds, which are otherwise invisible, and that's how we keep getting surprised. Probably for the best that we don't, really. So, where to next? Well, there next, I imagine, with that colony pod that we've produced in Morgan Robotics. Excellent. Why don't we... Okay, so this here is rocky and moist, and also in an excellent position for a solar panel at some point in the future when we unlock things. But because it's rocky, rocky is bad for farming. You can't build farms in rocky areas. But what you can do is terraform. You can level out the area. Essentially, you just take away some of those rocks, make things a little bit smoother, and that will allow us to do a spot of farming.
Terraform complete.
I cannot think of any words today. That's really annoying. I suppose tired but can't sleep as well. Ah well. On we go.
Enemy project initiated.
Zakharov, you cur. No, I think it's high time I started working on one of these.
Complete.
Oh, there we
Request
go.
confirmation.
Well worth paying for that. Okay, fungus. Right then, old chaps. Here's the test of truth. That's really annoying. Great.
Terraform complete.
Okay, yes, we've got that little thing. Right then. Here, old chap, goes nothing. Ah! Oh. Oh, dear Lord. Oh. That is a shame. Perfectly good fellow. Quite wasted. Well then, there's nothing for it. We're simply going to have to tear him apart piece by piece with perfectly ordinary troops. That's terribly embarrassing, isn't it? Right, then, chaps. There we go. Flat and moist. And bearing in mind that flat and moist is an interesting one. Generally, if you've got a flat area, I suppose we could. Flat and arid is what you really want to build forests on. Flat and moist we can improve. It's flat areas are not great because lack of minerals, and actually with all of the root nutrients around it. No, I think we're in prime forest territory now that you think about it. So yes, forest it is. Okay, you can stay.
I don't know, but I've been told. I don't know, but I've been told. Deidre's got a network node. Deidre's got a network node. Likes to press the on-off switch. Likes to press the on-off switch. Dig that crazy guy on which. Dig that crazy guy on which. Spartan, barracks, march. Yes, sir.
Okay. Network node, which amongst other things means we can finally get rid of that one of our alien artifacts. We'll have to build another one to get rid of the other, but it's at least in the bright, broad area. Now here's the hard part. We need a weather paradigm on our side. Might well be worth working on that now, actually. Okay, so we've got Lausberg. Knowing that we're close to growth, though. Oh, that's hard. I think colony pod, then rec commons. No. Keep this tall. Work on the rec commons. We'll need to pull it out in the fullness of time, but before that, I just need to sort of move it out and then back again, don't I? Link to our network node at once. Our scientists have linked the artifact to the data network and make wondrous discoveries in the field of...
At atrociously high energy states, the properties of matter change subtly and new miracles become possible. The plasma accretion process is now dangerous and difficult to control, but its products will soon become commonplace in our society. Sister Miriam Godwinson, the Lord works.
God damn it, high energy chemistry. That's not terribly useful to me. Breakthroughs in applied physics and industrial base lead to an understanding of high energy chemistry. This discipline seeks to understand the properties and behavior of matter at very high temperatures, and results in new types of materials that remain in a stable plasma state even when superheated by intense laser stimulation. So, apart from some improved armour for garrisoning purposes, we get nerve gas pods. Using nerve gas is an atrocity. People will hate you, they will give you trade embargoes, not very good for us, and the faction you use them on will never forgive you. You'll never ever surrender. But if you do, you get a whopping plus 50% attack bonus. And if you use them on cities, you can functionally commit genocide. It goes without saying that this is utterly awful. But you can. The game does give you the ability to do horrible, horrible things. You stay there and heal up. These gents need to go cause some trouble. Left click. Not many.
Terraform complete.
Weak, but plentiful. You know? They have their advantages. Okay, so forest up there, wasn't it? No, not forest. Balls. No, it's farming up there. Farming, not forest. I can't think straight. Right. This, however, is flat and moist. No, it was forest. I really cannot think straight. Well, I'm going to say forest down here as well, because why not? But here, rolling and moist. There we go. We have a little bit of progress made. Oh, too tired. Too tired and can't sleep. Right then, old chaps. Okay, it's quite nice. I think this might be the crater.
If our society seems more nihilistic than that of previous eras, perhaps this is simply a sign of our maturity as a sentient species. As our collective consciousness expands beyond a crucial point, we are at last ready to accept life's fundamental truth, that life's only purpose is life itself. Chairman Shen Jiyang, looking God in the eye.
Okay, Planetary Networks were one step closer to industrial automation. Once the colonists discovered how to survive, they focused on recreating some of the organizational tools left behind on Earth. Following the implementation of simple information networks, the creation of a standard for planetary networks emerges as a high priority for the scientific community. Fantastic. It allows a couple of creations. The hologram theatre reduces drones, and the virtual world makes every network known hologram theatre, which is very, very good if you're the university, and still pretty decent if you're anyone else, as hologram theatres are expensive. That is one of our goals, but it's not our chief goal. We have other things. If we can get to industrial automation, we stand a good chance of winning the next phase. In fact, oh, we're not going to get it. Damn it. Bloody exploration technology. Ah, it's so disappointing. Well, let's hurry this along.
Confirmation.
Yes, old chap. Get starting the second network node. Yes! Garland Crater, named after the assassinated captain, in fact. Solar. Okay. Forests. Get back to hard one. I am Tyrell. Okay. Morgan construction. Given how centrally located it is, sure, why not? These may seem to be almost impractically spaced cities. To begin with, we can employ so little space to start with. It's actually not too much of a concern having them that size. I mean, we're just going to keep expanding until it starts becoming impractical, so why not?
Request confirmation.
As usual. Narrow comms, thank you. I suppose I could increase my psych production soon, if that would help, but I think it's more important for us to start clearing a bit of space, actually, for more colony pods at this rate. It's really starting to be a problem, isn't it? So, where would do? Actually, now that you mention it, this slot might not be a terrible idea. Oh, we definitely need to make some road connections here. So, let's clear this up.
Terraform complete.
Yes. Hold your position. You can rehome that, so it now takes its minerals from Morgan Coast for upkeep. See. Clear the fungus.
Production complete. And you know what? I think I actually might finally be tired enough to sleep, so I'll probably take this up in the morning and continue the video there. Excuse me.
rested, refreshed, and ready to continue. It's 2162. We've got 119 energy, and let's just do a quick run and see if there's anything we can afford to rush build. Nope. Meh. Please excuse those sounds. Having some difficulties with my mouse. Morgan Coast doesn't have enough people. Collections, nope, nope. Construction, nope, nope. Oh, fishery. Yes.
Request confirmation.
Let's go with Morgan Hard One. Hard One. I'm easily amused. Okay, and we're back to default. Right then, so we have a little bit of everything we need. Let's work on expansion. Okay, so where are ideal places to expand to? We could probably do up there. Here would be nice if we could make it work. Probably here by extension. So if we pegged these then, cursor to here. Yeah. If I can remember what the notes are. Map. Name landmark is Shift N. Excellent. Site A. Pop that one. That's probably actually quite a nice place just here. So if we call that colony site B. Colony site C. It's a silly thing naming all of these like this, but it really helps organize things in your head, I find, if you just have a little bit of extra planning ahead. Why not? Site D. Also good if you just want to name cool things. For instance, let's call this. Let's do the usual narcissistic thing. River Morgan. There you go. That's the River Morgan. Colony Site D there, I see. Let's correct our terrible spelling. And we'll name that when we get that river when we get there. So 1, 2, 3. E. And we're starting to reach the point where it's anymore is probably going to start becoming impractical. Well, we know that we're going to build one there, so there's not too much point in worrying. And it would make sense to do one, let's say, here. Why not? Call that colony site F for now. Recently on the rankings, you can see the Spartans don't seem to be doing too well. In the early game, under the AI, the Spartans and the Peacekeepers do tend to be a little bit less than overwhelming, for the simple fact that the Spartans tend to pursue don't tend to pursue the same sort of sprawling Fin expansion strategy that we're doing. Fin expansion is where you just try and produce as many cities as possible until you start hitting efficiency penalties. Then you can think about tall expansion and actually building up your cities to be something worthwhile. Okay, that's probably enough planning there. What can we do next? Well, we can prep. Oh, do we want one here actually? Although perhaps not as obviously useful, this is actually just a convenient site for one in the fullness of time. So, colony site G. Then. Okay. Maybe interrupted at any moment. So, what's our best position? Okay, so based on where our performers are right now, it would make the most sense to prep with colony site G in mind. If G is going to be a site where we're actually going to have people there, it would make sense for us to build a sensor module, especially considering how
Terraform complete.
oh lovely surrounded we are by sound problems. Broken laptop, broken laptop, broken laptop, broken laptop, fiddling with the microphone in the vainest attempt to get some sound. Broken laptop, doodly-doo. Right, okay, well we'll just have to go a bit deaf on my part. You can probably still hear this fine. The internal speakers are picking up. No. Okay, that's a little bit better. Now then. Colony pod can go to site G. Why not? It's a sensible location. Oh, do we want to? Yes, we do. Just gonna have to rush positioning a little. Okay, so flat moist forest. If it's a forest, I should probably build something there, but no worries. What are we doing? We're focusing on terrain. Just using this little terrain thing to get us an idea of what will be best to expand on. Okay, I think there's some scope. Expand it rocky and moist. Rolling and moist, okay. That's what we really want. And so let's build a little bit extra. This guy can head to site C off the bat. Again, we should probably build sensor modules, but that's not going to happen.
Production complete.
Fantastic. Fishery has no further tasks, so we should probably work on something else. Let's get let's get a network node built. I mean, is it worth the effort though? We might be better placed getting a probe team going because they can serve as basic scouts beyond our territories without provoking unrest. That would be useful, wouldn't it? Can't bloomin' well defend themselves, of course, but they don't really need to. Also, they don't require maintenance, which is very nice. Let's say, yes, probe team, then colony pod.
Production complete.
Okay, it's a new turn. Build a road.
Terraform complete.
Build another road. Okay, get into position. Start on those sensor modules. Road. Yes, hold position. Do a little bit of scouting.
Terraform complete.
It's a new year. These things pass more quickly than you think.
Request confirmation.
We can afford that now. Okay. We're now reaching the position where it may well be worth. We've got a rec commons? Yes, okay, so we don't need to worry. We emphatically do not need to worry about unrest in this city for a while now. So is it better to start working on a secret project or save it? After all, there is a certain something we are preparing for, which will happen when we get industrial automation. Yes. Energy bank it is. And we can deal with the rest when it comes. Should probably do a little bit more expansion in that area actually. But okay, so flat and rainy. Anything we can use that we could expand. Okay, that's actually worth expanding the solar potentials of. But so what's going on here? We've got a road. Fantastic. What's going on? Anything being built here? Oscar. They're not actually called Oscar. I don't know why. It's O for sensor array for some reason, so I keep thinking of them as being called Oscar for some reason. Okay, let's sensor array. Solar, solar, solar. Well worth expanding into solar. New turn.
The entire character of a base and its inhabitants can be absorbed in a quick trip to the Rec Commons. The sweaty arenas of Fort Legion, the glittering gambling halls of Morgan Bank, the sunny lovers' trysts in Gaia's High Garden, or the somber reading rooms of UN headquarters. Even the feeding bay at the Hive gives stark insight into the sleeping demons of Yang's communal utopia. Commissioner Pravinlal, A Social History of Planet.
So yes, we have the Rec Commons. We do not now need to worry about drone problems in Morgan Industries. Rec Commons suppresses 2 drones. We're not going to get 2 drones until so much as 2 drones until we build hab complexes. So in Morgan Industries is fine. We'll temporarily work on the energy bank. We definitely need to improve things though. Right. So, bearing that in mind, okay, was that flat and moist? That's kind of useful, but we can definitely do better. So, yeah, let's roll around to there. Use the colony pod. So, it's no longer requires. Boom. Yep, Control Shift N. Yes, there we go. And we'll build Morgan Solar Effects. Yeah, there's some solar panels nearby. Why not? Morgan Solar Effects it is. Auto build some roads, making our lives a little bit easier. Standard production.
Request confirmation.
Setup. Colony pod, recycling tanks. And you may notice it's still on the sensor array. This will give us an excellent little bonus to production from to defense for any units. Won't be too useful right now, but in the fullness of time, it's gonna
complete.
potentially save some lives. Okay, rolling and rainy, so solars. With rolling and rainies, if I particularly needed more minerals, I could actually set to construct what's the term I'm looking for? Mines and farms, and it would counteract. And because of the nutrient limitations, one moment. Right, continue on then. Let's see.
Production complete.
Okay, 2066 as our research. 2 years, we're going to have some sort of exploration tech, which is less than ideal, but might result in some recon rovers, which would be welcome. Clear some fungus. We won't have the ability to drive road through fungus for a while.
Terraform complete.
Oh, excellent. We have a colony site clear up and ready. Okay, let's make our lives a little easier. Start running through fungus through here.
Enemy project initiated.
Oh, yeah, you cur. Okay, so clear that away. Yep, don't need that anymore. Morgan Metallurgy. Well, it's not really. I mean, I suppose there's some nice rocky areas nearby. I'm going to call this one Morgan Valley, actually. I think. Yeah. 2167 standard procedures. Actually, because of the high rate of expansion we're engaging in right now, it's starting to become. We're starting to run into some energy crunches. Nothing too concerning, but nevertheless, it's a little bit of a problem. Rolling and moist, excellent. Rolling and moist means that we can expand that with farms and solar, but that might need to wait until we can pull things back up a little bit. Rolling and rainy, that's actually already got enough energy for solar panels on it. Don't need more. We get energy from the river, from the River Morgan, in fact. Right then, where to from here? No point in improving monoliths. They produce the same amount no matter what because of their arcane ability. If anything, that's actually that should actually be the Obelisk River, I'd say. Yeah. We'll rename the Morgan River. It's up here, actually. Morgan. There we go. Simply because the sheer number of monoliths, it might as well be the Obelisk River. So extending.
Terraform complete.
Observation. Okay. So we're in a good position there. Oh, we could do with expanding onto this.
Drone riots.
Organ collections, drone riots, lovely. Organ collections. We ran into problems with you before, haven't we? Right, and we dealt with them previously that way as well.
Insufficient energy.
Alright, partial payment. We'll complete it next turn.
And I stood before him, and I sang unto her, and it appeared to listen. His very countenance rippled like the sea, and the sound of my own voice came back to me, distorted. For a moment, I thought she was mocking me, or it was non-sapient and mimicking me. Then I understood. The sounds were not important. It was how I affected his sounds, and how she affected mine, that transmitted the message. Prime function, Aki Zeta 5, 1 future.
This is actually one of the technologies from the expansion pack, Alien Crossfire, and includes some quotations from one of the leaders, Aki Zeta 5, leader of the cybernetic consciousness. The progenitors, an alien race with past ties to planet, return to reclaim their heritage. Well, they don't, but they might. Progenitor Psych is nothing more than a simple understanding of the aliens' culture, language, and aims. Humans cannot talk to either alien faction until they discover Progenitor Psych, or until the progenitors discover Social Psych. This allows us, however, to build the Aqua Farm. If we had any seaborne formers, which we do not, then the kelp farms, the equivalents of farms, would produce more nutrients for us, which make the expansion makes the seas very, very fertile. I'm going to assume that this is a case of studying the ruins exemplified by the obelisks then.
Terraform complete.
Again, some excellent locations here. Okay, rolling in moist, so farms and solars. Excellent. A fine amount.
Enemy project initiated.
Deirdre, you... Oh. Deirdre is so greedy. I can't possibly condone it.
Drone riots have ended.
Yes, and have we finished the network node? Oh, we finished the network node next turn because of the limitations of a drone riot, of course.
Terraform complete.
2169. Oh, 6 years and another exploration technology? I am not happy with that. We really need to power on towards industrial automation if we're going to get anywhere in this place. Can we improve solars? We can. Fantastic. Okay. Farm. Solar. Hold.
Production complete.
Excellent. We have the network node. We can power through our technological advances just a little bit faster. Yeah, colony pod, rec commons. Let's not waste time.
Production complete.
So,
Terraform complete.
I cocked that up, didn't I? Alright, well, never mind. How many turns till you've finished that one? Oh, let's not waste time then, Where to now? Where best to expand? Yeah, let's clear some of that pathway. Next colony pod can expand into that. Okay, we have license to continue exploring now. So let's start on it. Okay, rolling west. Start farming.
Production complete.
Ah, and there's a pod to pop. Excellent. Okay, first things first. It's 2171. Let's get that alien artifact connected up to a network node.
Some vices miss what is right because they are deficient, others because they are excessive in feelings or in actions, while virtue finds and chooses the mean. Aristotle, Nicomachean Ethics, Data Links.
Throughout the history of mankind, philosophers have grappled with the question, how shall we then live? Ethical calculus lays down mathematical principles uncovered by social psych to address this question, essentially providing calculations and functions that determine appropriate behaviour. Like many advances in this game, ethical calculus is a little bit creepy. It's a mathematical function for defining what is appropriate ethical behaviour. Still, as a result of this, we get hold of a democratic way of life, which really cuts down our support. Democracy is good. Democracy is a weird one. The lack of support means that we won't get any free supported units in a base, and we certainly won't get any free minerals when we start out. That's not good whilst we're in this stage of expanding. On the flip side, though, increased efficiency means we can support more cities, so it's good for a large empire. And increased growth means that cities will get larger more quickly. Democracy is really good for an established empire that's ready to start tall expansion, or thick expansion, depending on your preferred terminology. So it's not something we actually want to employ yet. Insanely, actually, if we were willing to go for a police state, it wouldn't necessarily do much. We'd still be having some police problems. We still won't be able to use police, but it would increase our support significantly, which would make a fair bit of difference for our expansion. Oh, children's creches, also good. A little bit of extra efficiency, a little bit of extra growth. But very importantly for us, because of the social choices we'll be running, our negative morale effects, and we will be having negative morale effects, don't you worry, are negated. So it's great for a defensive strategy, and it's really, really great for Morgan. Let's take a look at what it would do for us. Not great things, as I say. But the real benefit is... Okay, well, it's pushing us through to a conquest technology, which is less than ideal. I really want build. The next building technology will give us the ability to, will presumably, based on what's available, be industrial automation, which we really need. Okay, I think we can play to 2175 safely. Position, let's do our standard run-throughs.
Confirmation.
Do I want to? Is that really the right choice yet? Colony pods.
Confirmation.
Yes. Soul effects. Transport, well, let's save the extra turn.
Request confirmation.
Definitely worth saving. Morgan construction isn't really going to do anything until it can move. Recycling tanks.
Confirmation.
What are you going to build next then, eh? Right, commons probably. Makes sense. Colony pod. hard one.
Request confirmation.
I think that's our energy reserves blown, but we're making 33 a turn, so it will recover soon enough. Okay. Right then. Where to next? What's our best position? Okay, so we've got one that's going to build around here. Let's work on expanding that a little. But with all of the colony sites we're preparing up here, it might be best. Yeah, it might be best to start moving some of our formers up this way. All right, let's start on that then. The ones who are already down here doesn't really hurt too much to keep them moving. So keep them there, but for the others, we may best be placed to shift them about a bit.
Terraform complete.
Oh, very nice. Okay, so
Datapod recovered.
ha!
Once a man has changed the relationship between himself and his environment, he cannot return to the blissful ignorance he left. Motion of necessity involves a change in perspective. Commissioner Pravin Lal, A Social History of Planet.
The early colonists quickly learned the importance of reconnaissance and self-defense in this most alien of environments. Doctrine mobility formalizes these cornerstones of military might, representing the first attempts at an organized defense policy on planet. This is lovely. It gives us command centers which create more experienced troops. We probably won't be using a lot of those right now. We're not facing any enemies. But it also gives us cars. Speeders and rovers are actually really quite useful for. They serve the purpose of cavalry. They're better for attacking in open terrain. They're fast. They've got a double movement on land compared to infantry, and they can disengage from combat. But they're also really good for reconnaissance. So welcome. But first, let's move this fellow over to the colony site.
Terraform complete.
Okay. This fellow can begin. Morgan Energy Monopoly. You know, it's not really ideal. I think this is Morgan Bay time. Yes. And the standard expansion policies.
Request confirmation.
We have just enough for that. Definitely need to work on some more expansion from there. Right. Colony site B, I think, for that. This fellow can hold. Oh, that's really more site A, isn't it? Alright, well, let's move this fellow actually to what would be site D, but is currently in the River Morgan.
Production complete.
Okay, 273. 1 year. And we may well be there. The next turn we may well be there. Okay.
Terraform complete.
Okay. Solar. Usual. Okay. Let's work an expansion.
The genetic code does not and cannot specify the nature and position of every capillary in the body or every neuron in the brain. What it can do is describe the underlying fractal pattern which creates them. Academician Prokhor Zakharov, Non-Linear Genetics.
Oh, come on! I mean, the nutrient restriction being lifted, that's lovely, but really? Really? Gene splicing instead of industrial automation. Widespread adoption of the philosophy of ethical calculus removes opposition to genetic experimentation in plant and animal DNA, while advances in biogenetics provide techniques for the incipient field of gene splicing. This technology allows researchers to insert new DNA coding into existing genetic material so that entire traits, from disease resistance to a stable personality, can be copied from one organism and transferred to any number of others. And the research hospital allows us to reduces drones, increases psych and research. I'm so annoyed. What is the next? What's the next research likely to be? Back into exploration. Oh, so annoying. Well, we're nearly done for this one. So let's get to 2175 and we'll call it a day there. Oh. Okay, solar panels. Lovely. I suppose if we're going to...
Terraform.
We might as well actually expand the nutrient collection on these. Really, though, I had rather hoped. Morgan processing, why not? Really rather hoped for more out of this.
Request confirmation.
Control, colony recycling.
Production complete. Mod recovered.
Wonderful. This is it, 2175. Well, we've expanded a little bit in the last 25 turns. We have more colonies than we did. Our industrial capacity has expanded a little bit. We've been running into some problems with drones, I'll be the first to say, but by and large...
Request confirmation.
Yes. To get rid of those whilst we're here.
Insufficient energy.
Payments. Okay, 2 turns. Well, it's still better than nothing. By and large, things are improving for us, but not nearly as quickly as I'd hoped, and we missed out on industrial automation, which is such an important technology for us. If we don't get that soon, we're going to lose out in a lot of ways. I think the sooner I could... In fact, I'm going to prepare just ahead. We're going to go straight into prepping for the weather paradigm. There's tricks we can use once we have industrial automation to really speed that along, but I don't think we're going to get the opportunity to do that now. And we may need to just use all of the tricks in our basket to push that along as fast as we can. Alright. For now, though, I'm calling it. We're having a I will see you next time, and I wish you a jolly good time to all. We shall return for more adventures in the future. Alpha Centauri.